So in order to do a superficial digital flexor ultrasound, we gotta make sure that we have all the equipment that we will use for any other ultrasound. I like to have a ruler so we can measure the distance from the accessory carpal bone. Either you have a flexible ruler or you have a rigid one. We can do this on centimeters. Ideally centimeters because it's universal. We want to have white tape. We want to have some sponges with alcohol, lubricant, an alcohol bottle in case we need it. This is called a standoff. There are two types of standoff. We don't need both, but I'm going to show you. This is a long standoff, or we have the short standoff. In this case, we're going to use this one in the ultrasound. Then we have a bucket with warm water. Alright, so what we're going to do is we are going to have the horse clip just like that with a 40 blade. This particular area is going to be wet with our warm water. And then I am going to attach the tape. And the ruler to the accessory carpal bone, the point of the accessory carpal bone right here. Then you can have an assistant hold it over there, and we're gonna make sure that that stays there. Very important, okay? And at the level, hold it again. Okay. Right. We're gonna hold it right at the level. This is a live video, we're not going to edit it, that way you see everything we do in real life. Got it? And now I put this. Now of course, there are multiple ways to do this. Another way to do it is to just use the rigid, right? And you can measure. Why do I do that? I do that because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the ultrasound at different distances to the accessory carpal bone, and that's going to be the map. Now let's put the lubricant right here. Then I'm going to put the standoff, and I'm also going to put a little bit of lubricant on the horse. I don't use a whole lot of lubricant. I try to keep it as clean as possible. I go, and my first measurement is going to be right underneath the accessory carpal bone, and it's going to look just like this, right? So we're going to freeze that. Perfect. Yeah, too far. Perfect. And what we're going to do is we're going to write down right here. This is the right front, and this is 5 centimeters distal to the accessory carpal bone. That's my map, and I'm going to save it. Notice that the depth is specifically for this flexor tendon. Now I'm going to go a little bit lower, right here for example, and all I'm going to do is see where I am, right there, and I am at 9 centimeters. So I'm going to oh, she got mad. Real life, did you see? That could happen with any horse. They could get a little upset because horses with sedation can actually react. Alright, very important that you don't react, the horses react, because they are horses. It happens in real life. So we're going to give them a little bit more sedation, and we're going to continue. Boom. Now I can choose to also, can also choose to measure it. So I go here and I can measure the circumference. Right here I can measure the circumference of the tendon if I'm gonna compare to previous measurements. Alright, here we are looking for the fibers, making sure there's not a hole, and remember I'm focusing on the superficial digital flexor tendon right there. Now I'm gonna save it. Alright, now the next view is going to be the longitudinal. By the way, notice that the dot in the probe is going to be looking inside, and the dot in the probe reflects the dot right here on the ultrasound. Alright, so now I'm going to do the longitudinal, which is this way, and I'm going to go at the same distance. And right there. We're gonna make it nice. Alright, make sure our fibers are aligned. Freeze. Voila. And that is our longitudinal view. Alright. Now you see the lubricant is starting to get a little bit out of my probe. So now we're gonna go to the next distance. We're gonna choose 15. We're gonna freeze it, save it, excuse me, and then freeze. Good. And then now we're gonna go further down. Freeze. Now we look in here and we have 13 centimeters. So we're gonna go text 13 centimeters. I want to click save. Now remember, right here, superficial digital flexor tendon, deep digital flexor tendon, and check ligament. Now we're going to go further down. Freeze. We're going to see where we are. We are 16 centimeters.
Text.
So we go to text. We put the cursor right in front of the 1, 6. 16 centimeters. Now it's time to do a longitudinal. Now we do the longitudinal. Freeze. Save. Perfect. Now we're going to go further down. Right there, freeze. And then we want to measure. Why do we measure? We measure because we want to be able to tell anybody where we are at. We want to be able to have specific distances, that way anybody in the world knows where you are. Now you see that the standoff is kind of moving along, so I'm going to change to another standoff that is a little bit more secure. Throughout the course you're going to see that I use multiple standoff. They are a little expensive, but they're worth it. And what they do is they make sure that we have better contact with the skin. So here I put a little bit of extra loop, but we're going to go for it anyway. So now we're going to go to 21. Freeze? No, not yet. Sorry. Now here we're going to adjust the gain. Right here a little bit, increase the gain. Remember, my dot goes towards the inside. Freeze. Excellent.
21.
Now here we're going to be at 21. Now notice in this particular horse we have something going on over here. I don't want you to focus on that. I want you to focus on the principle of what we're doing, which is the ultrasound technique. Okay, right here is the junction between the check ligament and the deep digital flexor tendon. Very important not to confuse all those with lesions. So now we are going to center my probe at 19 centimeters, and we're going to take a longitudinal view. Freeze. Excellent. Now we're going to go to text, 19 centimeters in longitudinal, and we're going to save it. Alright, so now we can be proactive also. Now that you're getting the hint of it, I can go to 25. Remember, what I'm doing here is going through a scan of an ultrasound that should be theoretically normal. However, if you have a lesion, or if I find a lesion, what I'll do is I'll change the distances between the scans, okay? Instead of 25, I might go 26, 27. The distance are going to be different at all times. Unless I'm doing a scan first, then I have my standards every 3 or 4 centimeters. Freeze. So this is what the anatomy looks at 25. We're gonna save it. And then we're gonna go even further. We're gonna go at 28. We're gonna be right here at 28. Freeze it. Then we mark it at 28. Now, there is a trick that I use. There's a trick that I use when I'm in this area of the fetlock right here. Is that I don't mark the distance always. Why? Because the anatomy tells us exactly where the distance is. It's very important to understand anatomy, because anatomy is going to be very critical for your understanding of the ultrasound. So right here, for example, I'm starting to get into the area of the manica flexoria, and I'm going to show you right now what's going on. I'm starting to see the sesamoid bones. Freeze. For example, right here we can see the medial sesamoid bone. Here we can see the outside sesamoid bone. Oh, excuse me. My probe was towards the other side, so I'm going to change it again. I didn't save that because I made a slight mistake, which anybody can make. And freeze. Alright, so right here, this is the medial sesamoid bone, lateral sesamoid bone. This is the superficial digital flexor tendon. Right here is the deep digital flexor tendon. Superficial, deep, medial sesamoid, lateral sesamoid bone. This is the intersesamoidian ligament. Alright, notice that the anatomy is very different, so I'm not really measuring how far it is from the bone over here. Now I'm going to look at the manica flexoria. How do I do that? Very easy. Look what I'm doing with my probe. I'm twisting it a little bit, turning it like that, in that direction, basically moving the tail of the probe. And in order to get a negative image of the tendon, freeze, right there, I have a negative image of the tendon. Right here, negative image of the tendon, and a positive image of the manica flexoria right here. This is the medial sesamoid, this is the lateral sesamoid. Alright, and then we go all the way down to the fetlock right here. And notice, freeze, notice that the edges of the superficial digital flexor tendon are not in view. So now what we need to do is we actually need to rotate the probe towards the inside to get the edge. Freeze, save, and now we rotate towards the outside. Freeze, save, good. And I can also do the longitudinal view. Freeze, save, freeze, freeze, save. And now what I'm doing in the longitudinal is I'm going like this, from the medial to the lateral, medial to the lateral, the whole way. That way I get a very good view of the whole superficial. Freeze, save. Notice how unequivocally we are going to have some images. Freeze. For example, we're going to have some images of the deep digital flexor tendon because the anatomy, right? However, I'm focusing on the superficial digital flexor tendon today. Alright, that was the whole scan of the superficial digital flexor tendon from the accessory carpal bone to the fetlock. In other videos, we're going to talk about the superficial digital flexor distal to the fetlock, goes into the pastern. And in the more advanced course, we're going to talk about proximal to the accessory carpal bone. Right, don't worry, you're going to get it, you just need to practice it constantly. I hope you learned something today. Have a great day. Alright, good.